In this video, we're going to be talking about the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF known as ticker symbol SCHD. We're going to be going over why this ETF as of right now is my daily buy and hold forever position that I no joke have literally been buying shares of every single day, whether the ETF price is up or down on a daily basis for months and months now. Then later on in the video, we're going to go through some scenarios of what not only my dividend income could look like in the future if I continue to invest heavily in SCHD down the road. But on top of that, I want to share with you what the potential outcome could be for you if you buy into a stock or ETF that has a historical high dividend growth rate. Now, whether you own a single share of SCHD or 1 million shares of it, make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. I just finished my brand new dividend investing ebook where I share exactly how I went from zero to now over 7 figures invested, and also on how I earned more than $6,000 per month in dividends. I also finished my custom dividend tracker that you can use to track your dividend income progress on an ongoing basis. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. So before anything, first things first, I wanted to share with you guys some awesome news. I officially have 582 shares of the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF as of filming this video. And if you followed me in the past, you know that it's been my mission in 2024 to buy an average of 1 to maybe 2 shares of SCHD every single day in order to reach upwards of 1,000 shares of this ETF, hopefully by the end of this year. Now, even if I don't reach 1,000 shares of SCHD, that's my goal. And the reason being is that once I reach somewhere around 1,000 shares of this ETF, I want to then move my cash balance, my daily buys into a different ETF, maybe DGRW or maybe even VU. But as of right now, you can see that my daily buys from last year have been very consistent. And not to mention in 2024, I've been buying basically every single day also. But to back things up for a second, why in fact am I choosing to buy SCHD on a daily basis, and why am I loading up on this position with the goal to reach 1,000 shares? The main reason on why I'm choosing SCHD or the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF as my daily target to buy a share or two every single day across my portfolios is for the fact that SCHD basically crosses off everything I'm looking for as a long-term dividend growth investor. As you can see, long-term SCHD's share price has went up significantly, even as of recently, where a lot of SCHD holders and naysayers were saying that now that SCHD is well below $70 per share, this was back in October by the way, this ETF is destined for doom and there's no way it's going to recover from this. But like we saw just a few months later, SCHD is once again flirting with a brand new all-time high, which is exactly what I thought and hoped for all along. But regardless, as a long-term buy and hold investor, it doesn't really make any difference to me personally if SCHD hits a new all-time high. If anything, I'd rather accumulate more shares for cheaper for longer. So unless you're trying to day trade this thing or swing trade this thing, I don't really understand why investors want it to be more expensive today or tomorrow. But regardless, the fact that SCHD does have growth potential because of the methodology and the holdings inside this ETF, the ETF also offers around a 3.5% more or less starting dividend yield depending on where you bought your shares. And side note, what was pretty awesome about earlier last year in October when SCHD was trading much cheaper, I was able to grab a bunch of shares in my portfolio, which not only lowered my cost basis to around $71 or $72 per share across all my shares, which now, side note, I'm up thousands of dollars on if I were to sell today tomorrow, which of course I'm not going to, but also even more important to me, it locked in a ton of shares of SCHD with a yield on cost of north of 4%, which again, for an ETF with these type of characteristics, I think is absolutely jumbo. So I've made it pretty clear that I like SCHD's methodology. I like the overall holdings for the most part. I like the fact that the ETF has the potential to grow long term. And also I love the fact that this ETF has a very decent, very fair starting yield considering what you're getting out of the investment. But maybe most importantly, one of the main reasons on why I'm focusing and why I have focused on this ETF is because as a long-term dividend growth investor, I want to buy assets that not only are going to pay me on a quarterly or of course a monthly basis for some investments, but I also want to get paid more and more over time, which in the case of SCHD, that's exactly what this ETF has done historically. Now, I've talked about in other videos the fact that SCHD's dividend growth rate has been very high certain years, and certain years not as high as others. But overall, even with everything that's been going on in the economy and with a lot of the holdings in SCHD, this ETF still has been able to squeeze out some dividend increases year over year, which is very important to SCHD holders, including myself, of course. Now, the main reason on why dividend growth is so crucial to me is that, especially as you gather together 10, 100, or even 1,000 plus shares of whatever stock or ETF we're talking about, in this case SCHD. Over time, even if the dividend increase goes up 2% per year, 5% per year, or even in some cases like SCHD, 10% per year, which is the average dividend growth rate over the last 10 years. With that being the case, you are going to see a massive influx of dividend income coming into your portfolio, which is going to be crucial in the case of things like inflation potential in the future, and of course in the case of living off your dividends and having more than enough money to sustain yourself. Now, looking a little bit deeper into my specific situation, and you guys definitely should do this also with whatever holdings you have in your portfolio to see what the future could look like. And of course, these numbers are all just different scenarios, are all just estimations, but it still gives you some massive motivation and can give you an idea of where you're going to be at in the future. So this right here is an income forecast, and I inputted the fact that I own, as of right now, at least 582 shares of SCHD, which has a base dividend growth. We're going off at 10% per year because over several years that was the case. Now, dividend reinvestment is turned down right now because as of right now, I am in fact reinvesting my SCHD into more shares of it. And a lot of times, I'm buying even extra shares of the ETF. Now, annual contribution, we'll start off with it being at none, just to get an idea of what we'd be looking at in the case of just holding on to my shares of SCHD and not adding another single dollar to it. But as you and I know on a daily basis right now, I'm buying at least like 1 or 2 shares. So I guess in theory, we can kind of do the math in a second here and see what that would look like. Now, this is very interesting. It says income scenarios. So the current income scenario right now, we're at about $1,500 per year in SCHD dividends. Now, by 2029, if I never bought another single share of SCHD, the income scenario would be almost doubled at $2,500 per year. By 2034, so this is 10 years from now, we'd be at $4,000 per year in income. And again, this is not from buying another single share. This is off of a $1,500 current. By 2039, $6,400 per year. And by 2044, which is 20 years away, and I know that sounds like a crazy long distance away, but again, in the case of investing, you have to look at the long term. Now, if we go down here to the 13% profile, this is with dividends reinvested, and again, these are all just estimated numbers, we could see $17,900 of income by 2044, and we could see over triple the amount of income in the next 10 years, and this is if SCHD pays a base of 10% per year, increased dividends, and I reinvested the dividends along the way. Now, what's really crazy is that if we change the annual contribution for this situation of $20,000 per year, so this is assuming that along with everything else, I'm also going to be adding $20,000 more into SCHD per year, the numbers get truly insane here. We're talking in the next 5 years, we're up to $7,200 per year in dividends, and then in the next 10 years, $17,600. The next 20 years, over $70,000 of income potential if we were to just keep doing what we're doing. Now, again, I get it. We don't know exactly what the dividend growth rate is going to be in the future, and we don't know exactly how much we're going to be able to contribute on a yearly basis. But as of right now, I know one thing's for certain. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to that 1,000 share goal of SCHD because the dividend growth potential long term and the fact that this ETF's performance has been very solid over the long term. Now, lastly, and maybe most importantly, because we're talking about SCHD and because we're basing so much of the future as investors off the potential dividend growth in the future, I want to ask you guys down below to give me your best guess on what you think SCHD's average dividend growth rate is going to be for the next 10 years. I'm talking 2024 all the way till 2034. How much do you think average per year is SCHD going to be raising their dividend? Drop it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.